morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Milan 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Yes, it's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers this morning. And after that, we'll take a commercial break by 8:30. We'll move on to, by 8:40 rather, we'll move on to Milan Focus. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of December, 2024. And of course, there is actually quite a lot for us to look through. This morning we have our papers, the Punch, Guardian and Vanguard newspaper, of course in no particular order. So we'll be looking through these major stories. We have Sahid Fuhad on standby to give analysis to the stories that we'll be looking through this morning. Time check right now is 7:45 a.m. and you're on to the Morning Express, and it's time for Trends in the Papers, so please stay tuned.
Knowledge is power, information is key, and that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Alright, well, my name is Omobola Sandra and this is Milan 98.3 FM. You're on to Trends in the Papers. Good morning, Fuad. How are you doing? Hello? Oh no, that's not going to work. Alright. Okay, so as we mentioned, apologies or sincerely apologize for the back and forth this morning. Just trying to sort some things from the back end because it's very important that we have Fahad on board to give analysis to the stories that we will be looking through this morning. As I mentioned earlier, we have our papers here, Punch newspaper, Guardian, and of course Vanguard newspaper. So we'll kick things off, of course, with the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Don't forget that we'll do this up until about 8:30. We'll take a short commercial break by 8:30 and then we're back for Milan Focus, and that's the part where you get to share your own thoughts as regards the stories that we'll be looking through this morning. Okay, so let's see what we have here. The major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning: tax reforms, Tinubu orders review as protest persists in the National Assembly. So the conversation around the tax reforms bills or the controversy around the tax reform bills has prompted the president to direct the Ministry of Justice to work closely with the National Assembly to address the concerns raised by Nigerians. The president, who is currently in South Africa, handed down the review order on Tuesday as some northern youth stormed the National Assembly in support of the bills. The bills, of course, four major aspects of the bill: the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, have generated hot debates and contention across the country, with northern governors and lawmakers opposed to their passage. And critics argue that the reforms could disrupt the balance of fiscal federalism, potentially centralizing tax authority and diminishing state revenues. And what we have now is that, however, in a move to, assuage the high emotion over the reform bills, the president has directed the Federal Ministry of Justice and relevant officials who worked on the draft to collaborate with the National Assembly to address all genuine concerns before the bills were passed. This was contained in a statement signed by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, titled President Tinubu Committed to Accountability on Tax Bills, directs Ministry of Justice to work with the National Assembly on concerns. All right, that's the major headline there. And there's quite a lot to look at. Let's not forget that just yesterday, some youths from the north staged a protest at the National Assembly in support of the tax reform bills, bearing placards mostly with the inscription, "Leave Senator Barrow alone." The protesting youth described critics of Barrow Jibrin, who happens to be the Deputy Senate President, over his support for the reform bills as enemies of the North, enemies of progress, enemies of the nation. And speaking on behalf of the protesters, Tijani Mohammed said they were satisfied with the explanations offered by the chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Mr. Tʀᴇɪᴅs, on the benefits of the bill to the nation at large. So the conversation around this still continues, but please stay tuned. This is Milan 98.3 FM as we connect with our analyst Side Forward.
Knowledge is power. Information is key. And that is why we aim to unlock the doors of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Thank you so much for staying with us. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM and you're still on to Trends in the Papers. And we finally have Fuad Said with us. Good morning, Fuad. Apologies for keeping you waiting for that long.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. And thank you for standing by.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so tax reform bills. That's the conversation that we were having before we went on the break, which is the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper, as the president has given a directive to a review, or as regards a review, as protests persist in the National Assembly. Yesterday, some youths, protested in front of the National Assembly, trying to get their attention, or trying to, show some sort of support for Senator Barrow Jibrin, Deputy Senate President, because he's supporting the reform bill. So some people have tagged him as an enemy of the North or enemy of progress, or so many other things. So with all of this back and forth happening, you still have the northern governors, you still have the northern lawmakers still opposing the bill. And also the president has given a directive to the Ministry of Justice for them to have a sit down with the National Assembly and have a review of some sort. This was, in a statement signed by Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, where the statement is titled, "The President is Committed to Accountability on Tax Reform." So the President has directed the Federal Ministry of Justice and relevant officials who worked on the draft to collaborate with the National Assembly to address all genuine concerns before the bills were passed. So what do you think of the president's directive and his coming on board as regards, the controversies around this bill, and also why do you think that at this point now, with what's been going on and the fact that this is becoming a little bit political, maybe the president should just maybe the president should wait till he's back, and then he can have a sit down with the executive committee. What do you think?
Well, Sandra, I've always talked about the president and his politics, and the kind of take it or leave it transactional politics that, of course, they are used to playing in Lagos. But this is at the national stage. And I'd said that, look, what had worked for the president in Lagos for years may not easily work for him at the national level. If you understand what I'm saying, Sandra.
I'm with you.
And this is like the first a real test of that kind of politics that had now been adopted, and the hope that it was going to work for the president at the national level. If you look at his relationship with the National Assembly, it has always been very easy. Any executive bill that comes within a day or two gets passed. But this has now shown that, look, that kind of politics that we've known with the APC, whether from AD to ACAPC in Lagos, may not necessarily work at the national level. And I've said it is the take it or leave it transactional politics of Lagos. But this is at the national stage. And look, as influential and powerful as Olusegun Obasanjo was, Sandra, as the president at that time, he wasn't able to get a coalition. He wasn't able to get a situation where everything he wanted flew through the National Assembly. At least on record, whether he knew about it or not, the attempt for third term failed completely. And that was in itself the reason why the amendment to the Constitution at that time was thrown out of the window at the National Assembly. So what I'm trying to infer here or explain is that, look, I think again, the president must understand that he now needs to adopt a different strategy if he wants to succeed. Yes, they've been able to put their own people, they got themselves involved in how principal officers of the National Assembly were elected and all of that. But the complex nature of Nigeria, when it comes to ethnic considerations, religious sentiments, and all of that, has shown that, look, the president may not always find it easy with everything he wants, even with the robust nature of the 10th National Assembly. So it's a nice one that he has, I think, he now understands that he needs to be a bit more persuasive. He has gotten the Attorney General involved now, right? To look at some of the gray areas and the concerns that have been raised about this bill. And so we just have to wait again to see where all of this ends. Again, this is the beauty of democracy. That is the kind of robustness you expect when bills are introduced, whether it's coming from the executive or from any quarters. Let it be properly debated. Let all concerns be raised. Let all opinions count. Because, again, that is supposed to be the beauty of a democratic state. So, again, let's see how all of this lobbying back and forth goes as far as this particular bill is concerned. I'm surprised that people are already putting ethnic colorations to it. Again, if we are a nation united under God, United Nation under God, I think we should also accommodate all concerns and all opinions, no matter how divergent those opinions are. So, again, let's see how all of this ends. And on Senator Jibril Barau, the Deputy Senate President, it's been a very tough one for him, especially back home in Kano State, if you understand what I'm saying. The problem is this. People are already thinking that anybody that supports the bill is an enemy of the North. And the sentiments are high, Sandra. If you follow social media platforms dominated by Northern people, you understand that, look, there seems to be a silent consensus, even a loud consensus from majority of Northerners that this bill is targeted at the North. How we got to the point where everything has now been reduced to the interest of the North, I don't understand. But again, he would have to find a way to play his politics. I don't know whether this protest will help him with the people in the North. Because I can tell you for free that apart from the real organizers of that protest, maybe one or two people in that protest, majority of the people that joined those protesters yesterday don't even know what the tax bill is all about. You understand what I'm saying? They will carry placards truly, but you know that in that in that crowd, maybe only one or two people know why they are there in the first place. Others were probably mobilized, and you know what I mean by mobilization in those kinds of protests. So at the end of the day, interesting times ahead on this tax bill. There was a rowdy session at the House of Reps yesterday, and they were going to beat themselves up on this particular bill. So I think it's going to also show and question the political strength and capacity of the president. Even though I don't really want to talk about politics here, I just really want to talk about the bill. But it's all intertwined one way or the other.
One way or the other.
And what is happening now, Sandra, is also indicative of what we're going to see when the elections are closed in 2027.
All right. Well, it's turned. The bill has turned put on some sort of sensitive nature now because at plenary yesterday there was some sort of rowdy session following the declaration of the support of the bill by spokesman of the Green Chamber Akinrotimi, who is a member of the APC, which incurred the wrath of his colleagues when he stood up to present two reports on behalf of the Committee on Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring. As you know, we'll see what exactly would come all out of the directive given by the president.
Sandra, are you also surprised, or are you not surprised, that one of the most vocal governors against this bill is a governor that is completely loyal to the Vice President Kashim Shettima? I'm talking of Governor Zulum, Professor Zulum of Borno State. If you understand what I'm saying, he's very vocal.
Even Ali Ndume also from.
You can even say that Ali Ndume has always been very vocal and opposing of a lot of things that this presidency has done. But for his Professor Zulum that hardly talks, Sandra, apart from his activities in Borno State, he's not really one of those governors that come off to really talk about national issues. And you hardly even get him to talk. Apart from maybe the issue of governance in Borno State and maybe the northeastern part of the country. But for him to have been this vocal, and in one of the interviews on TV, he said that, look, their own people are also taking note, and there could be serious political consequences. Just the same thing that Ali Ndume was saying the last time. And the vice president is not reading in, if you understand what I'm saying. Also remember that the last NEC meeting that was chaired by the vice president, the recommendation at that NEC meeting was that the bill should first be withdrawn from the National Assembly for proper consultation. But the president overruled that decision by saying no. Whatever input you want to put it as the bill is being debated at the National Assembly. So, like I said, whether you look at the bill or you look at the politics behind the bill, there's something interesting as far as this what we are seeing now ahead of 2027, Sandra.
Well, that is the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Tax reform. Tinubu orders review as protests persist. At the night still happened. And
organized by who?
Northern youths. Some northern youths.
In support of who?
Barao Jibrin.
And so why is that I won't edit now that they are supporting Jibrin Barao?
But it's still connected. It's connected to the bill. And it was staged just outside the National Assembly.
He managed to help himself. It was a face-saving protest. That people are supporting that, blah, blah, blah. You should probably go and consult with people back home. I'm telling you, the pillars we are getting, the information we are getting. Anyways, we'll wait to see how it goes.
Moving on now, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, a story that I'm sure, I trust that a lot of people are waiting to, hear about is EFCC has finally said something as regards the mysterious. I don't know how it was mysterious, but then it's fine. It's not mysterious. 753 duplex estate. So what we have now, just above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, EFCC, Emefiele and cronies acquired 753 duplex estate with forex kickbacks. And that's what we have. And it's paying me. These houses are very fine. But it's fine. Let's move on. Court papers filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have linked the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to the massive Abuja property with 753 duplexes and other apartments located in the cadastral zone area of the capital city. And this announcement, an announcement was made on Monday, recovery of the property from an unnamed ex-government top brass. But now, we have, a name. It's just Godwin Emefiele, but and then they said other cronies, but no name. But just Emefiele that's all over the place. And I just wish him all the best. But Fuad, finally, EFCC alluding to the reports from our reporters. What do you think?
Well, if you look at the story very well from the Punch newspaper, there's also a story in the Vanguard newspaper that addresses this particular issue. The Punch newspaper is not necessarily saying the EFCC has issued a statement that property belongs to Emefiele. In fact, their media officer is not even saying that. What Punch has done is to get their correspondent to get court papers that have been filed on this particular case. And from those court papers, there are indications that these particular properties are linked to the cases that have been raised against Godwin Emefiele, if you understand what I'm saying. So, and the court papers are also showing that, look, the proceeds that have been used to acquire these properties came from foreign exchange racketeering. I think they were able to say came in 3 tranches of about 2. At the end of everything, it was about 2-point-something billion naira or so. Coming in tranches, people were getting dollars and then they were returning some kickbacks and, the normal forex racketeering that always happens, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so, but the media officer of what's it called, the EFCC is saying that, look, the reason why they didn't name anybody, particularly on this forfeiture of this particular property, was that, look, the case of forfeiture was against the property, not a particular entity, an individual. Because at the point of going after these properties, the developers of the estate themselves claimed that they were not owners of the property. So what the EFCC is trying to tell us is that, look, nobody has claimed for the property now. Sandra, it's like it's an abandoned property. So even the people that were initially linked to the development of that property or the estate are saying they are not the owners. And so their own interest was majorly the forfeiture and acquisition of those properties, not the intention really to go after individuals. A lot of mumbo-jumbo legal confusion that was going to come out of this. The reality is that, look, the EFCC cannot justify why they did not name people they were linked to this property forfeiture. All of this is just face-saving, a more embarrassing explanation to what can become a very easy process. Look, these were the cases we were pursuing, and it led us to this. And we discovered that there was an estate that is linked to what we're doing, and name the people that are linked. But this idea of now trying to hide behind the finger would not even help the image of the EFCC on this particular case. There was no reason. I said it yesterday, Sandra. No justifiable reason for not naming the people behind this particular property. You know what it means, Sandra, to have 753 duplexes and other apartments. So it could be even 5,000 properties we are talking about here. If you understand what I'm saying. And then you will tell me that nobody claimed ownership. There were no legal papers on that property, whether it's a company, who are the promoters of the company, who are the people that got title documents on that property, and their names. Even if it's a company, at least there were people that promoted the company. You know what it means to build 753 duplexes? Are you not going to get building permits? Are you not, it doesn't even make any sense that they don't have a particular name that they can quickly identify with this particular property. But anyways, they've done their job. It's the largest forfeiture that has ever been done, recovery, by the EFCC. For Sandra, you know the most disturbing part of this story, for me? What kind of process or what kind of structure or institutions are we running that gave room for this kind of fraudulent activity, corruption? Are we saying our system is so loose, Sandra? Let us even now accept that it is a Godwin Emefiele thing. You understand? Let us even say, okay, we go with Sahara reporter story and this Punch report that they say the court filings are showing that it's Emefiele. Are we saying our system is so porous Are we saying our institutions are so porous that it gives room for these kinds of things? Because it is this one we are talking about, Sandra. Like you always say, one shele. 100 is happening. You know, I have a complete understanding of the real estate sector. Sandra, go to Victoria Island, go to Old Ikoyi, go to Lekki. There are properties that are there. Some of them over 10, 15 years empty. The owners of those properties are not even bothered. Sandra, I'm talking about luxurious properties, solid properties in choice locations here in Lagos. The same thing in Abuja. So it is. I was having a conversation with you yesterday, Sandra. That just imagine Godwin Emefiele was in the good books of the government. Would this case have come up?
So
you don't understand what I'm saying.
Just gone like that.
So who says that a lot of the people in government today, their friends and cronies and associates have not even done something that is worse than what we are seeing now? I'm not saying that we should not celebrate this one.
Let's not forget the general's case in a hurry.
You know, there was one general too, an army general, that they looted all the properties like this.
In that same
you understand? So what I'm saying is that, yes, when we celebrate some of these things, you know, say, oh, yeah, the reality is that when we talk about corruption, people think, oh, you people just overblow things or blow things out of proportion. If we are not careful, Sandra, corruption will kill this nation. Already, we are gasping for breath already with the level of corruption we have in the country. Because if one individual can do this, and the only reason why this, I can tell you for free, is even making the news and we are fishing it because probably the people involved are not in the good books of government. We have a lot of people today who are in government. There are foreign ministers today too, Sandra, who have different cases. And they are still in government. But is anybody talking about them? So, you see that we agree that there's a serious problem with corruption. We need to reform our institutions and find a way to block some of these leakages that give room for these things like this to happen. What kind of system are we running that will give room for it was already being built? They just came to acquire the whole thing. It's not as if they started it from the scratch. Maybe a developer was already building the estate, and then because the money was available, they needed to put it into something. They just came and acquired the whole thing. You know, like you go into a store and you say, I want to buy, I want to close the shop, I want to buy everything in this shop. So the developer just cast out like that.
Well, thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, let's just wrap this particular story up because there's a document that's here, and according to that particular document, Emefiele allegedly carried out monumental fraud. Monumental fraud. As the CBN
what the three tranches of money that they say came
with his cronies to acquire several properties, including that particular estate. Several properties, which includes this particular estate.
So you can see that he acquired the estate, not that they started it. I want to buy everything.
Yeah.
You know, like you call the granite seller and say, how much is a bottle of granite? You might say 1,000 per bottle. I'll take everything. Go home.
Fuad Sahid. Let us not quickly forget there is a graveyard. There's a graveyard somewhere which houses several hundreds of cars with Emefiele's picture on it.
Campaign vehicles. We call them. Where are those vehicles now?
Where are those vehicles? Very, very good question. On which property are those vehicles parked? Anyways, what the document has here now is that, I'm quoting now, the commission, whilst investigating the alleged monumental fraud carried out by the immediate past governor of the CBN and his cronies, traced and discovered several properties reasonably suspected to have been acquired and or developed with proceeds of unlawful activities. The property highlighted in Schedule A to this application is one of the said properties recovered, having been reasonably suspected to have been acquired, developed with proceeds of unlawful activities. And our investigation equally revealed that erstwhile CBN governor received kickbacks from some contractors who were awarded contracts by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the EFCC also alleged that Emefiele connived with several cronies, including one 𝐴̀fàɪ, who ran several errands for him, which included purchase and perfection of title documents for several properties located in the highway areas of Lagos and Abuja. Hey.
Sandra.
Hey.
Sandra.
Ew.
Sandra. Like they say.
It's true, sir.
I know what I'm saying.
Yeah, there may be
Actually,
several.
I am sure in the minds of some people now, this story, we are shouting because again, we are the Tʀᴇɪᴅs of this nation. So we will be surprised. It will disturb us. One person. But I can tell you that there are people in this same nation who will just look at this and say, well, yeah. Because they know what they do. They know what they have done. And they know what they are still doing. Sandra.
It's all right. Well,
God save the soul of this nation.
we wish them all of the best. Oh.
Wish them care. Wish us. It's our resources. It's our wealth.
So who is living fake life now? What?
I just told you that. I don't want to go into that fake life conversation.
Well, the story is on page 12 of the Punch
Sandra,
newspaper.
I can tell you that with my knowledge, with my in-depth knowledge of the real estate market, only in this Lagos, let's not leave it at that.
10 is happening. All right. Well, it is still trends in the papers on Milan 98.3 FM. Running very quickly now. That story, the EFCC Emefiele story, is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. And still on the front page of the Punch, we also have here 80 billion naira fraud. Court orders former AMCON MD's arrest. This is really unfair.
So mostly those assets are the ones that are recovered though, from people who could not pay back their loans and all of that. So so basically most of those properties are supposed to be sold again, recover those monies, because AMCON is to ensure that look, banks cannot run into trouble again. With bad loans, bad debts and all of that.
Thank you.
But you also have a situation that people that are supposed to help recover properties from people who are owing banks and all of that are not even stealing proceeds of those properties.
Yeah. That's really unfortunate. I was going to, give a breakdown of so that we can have a complete understanding. No. So that we can have a complete understanding of why this is a big concern. Because just as Fuad had rightly, highlighted the role of AMCON in resolving non-performing loan assets. That's very, very important for us to put that out there. But then what we have now is that the Lagos State Special Offences Court in Lagos has issued a bench warrant against the former managing director of the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, Ahmed Kuru, over alleged 76 billion naira and $31.5 million of fraud. And Justice Mojisola Dada ordered Kuru's arrest for failing to appear before the court for his arraignment by the EFCC. And there are, as it is now, aside from Ahmed Kuru, alongside we have Managing Director of ⴃ Captain Roy Ilegbodu, Receiving Manager or Receiver Manager of ⴃ Kamilu Omokide, Union Bank PLC, and a company, Super Bravo Limited. They are facing 6 counts bordering on making a false statement, fraudulent conversion, abuse of office. That's it. It's okay. Abuse of office, stealing, and dishonest conversion of property.
There was a time AMCON took over the operations of ⴃ because of their non-performing loans and all of those kinds of things. And then the people that are supposed to ensure that the process, gets more straightened up for proper operations and all of that, also have all of that. Look at the MD of AMCON, allegedly, as is being said. But the reality is that money is missing.
No, he did not come.
Money is missing.
No, he didn't come for his arraignment. He didn't appear.
They will fish him out. Of course, they have a disdain. This level of impunity. They summon them, they don't appear until something like this happens. Yes, if you have 86 billion in your hands, you probably would think that, look, what's going to happen? I can bribe my way. I can do anything.
Well, I don't know how this will turn out, but we'll just keep watching because he has actually jumped administrative bills several times. Yes, this is the same person.
This is Mr. Kuru man.
Yeah, he has jumped administrative bill granted by EFCC on several occasions. So that there's.
And do you remember Ahmed Mr. Ahmed? I know you remember.
Has he finished paying that money? Because
what was the money? What was the amount?
I think 290 or 270. And they said they
Billion, eh?
recovered, yes, 290 or 270 billion.
I think they recover about 70-something billion. He had
They
paid back
recovered
something.
70, a bit 30. Okay, well, I think it was.
The accountant general at that time, right?
Yes. The accountant
And the man that came to replace him too ran into trouble too.
that produced two other accountant general that also did some funny business. I don't know
You
what.
can also what I'm saying that look, do we look at our system, our structure, that gives room for these kinds of things to happen? It makes it so easy. So it's the one we know that we know. A lot is still happening, and a lot will continue to happen if we don't fix our system.
And the Edu gates too. Let's not forget that.
Where is that? Where are we on that one too?
What was happening there?
You see.
There's a new
Okay, what is happening on before Edu? What of the other disaster woman?
Ahmed.
Before Edu will say.
Ahmed.
What's her name?
Farid Ahmed.
The woman. I can't. You can't be putting people like that. You remember that one too? That there was
3 billion.
billions of naira are still hanging on that case. Edu, no information.
There's a new person now.
I wish him well. He's from Plateau State. Then he's a vibrant, intelligent man. We'll wait to see how it goes with him too.
It's okay.
That ministry.
It's all right. Anyways, 80 billion fraud. The court has ordered his arrest. The former AMCON MD, Ahmed Kuru. The story is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. We also are moving on, still on the front page of the Punch. Reps order suspension of CBN mass retirement and 50 billion naira payoff. Oh, well, did you see that story, Fuad?
That too has a lot of ethnic coloration. It's causing a lot of you follow the story, Sandra.
Yes, it doesn't look for lack of better word, tidy.
Mass retrenchment, and you want to pay them off? Like what?
Yeah, what's going
Are
on?
they due for retirement?
Yes.
If they are not due for retirement, so why do you want to let?
That it's something that
Are you saying that the CBN has overbloated employment? So if you are going to be, how many of them were to go, Sandra?
1,000.
About 1,000. So is it that you discovered that they were incompetent, or what exactly had necessitated the mass retrenchment?
They said it's for strategic workforce realignment.
So you Sandra. Nobody will confuse you with that kind of English. What's the meaning of strategic workforce realignment? Are they replacing them? And if they are going to replace them with who and who?
They are trying to streamline their workforce.
You didn't say streamline. You are not helping them with another English to confuse us more. What is the meaning of strategic?
Realignment.
You know what realignment is? It could be redeployment too. Realignment does not mean you have to let people to go.
It's okay. Thank you for
if you say streamlining, that means you want to reduce. Realignment could be that you go to this place, you go here, move this way. But if you are saying you are streamlining, let us.
Yeah, true.
So that's what we're saying. So if you say strategic realignment of workforce, why are you even realigning in the first place? And if you are going to realign, must you now sack them and tell them to go home and pay them off? And then if you say you want them to go, are you replacing them or you are not going to replace them? You say this is are they due for retirement?
Over 1,000 staff. And also another crux of it is the 50 billion naira that's been earmarked as severance funds. That's also another issue. An adherence to due process in line with public service guidelines and labor laws. The payoff scheme amounting to 50 billion naira may lack sufficient accountability and oversight mechanisms, posing risk of mismanagement and abuse of public funds in a sector that is vital to Nigeria's financial stability. So they're looking into the criteria for the people that, how they selected this over 1,000.
The only criteria for me is that, Sandra,
the process,
are they due for retirement?
Yeah, the process by which they were selected, and also the legality of,
the mass retirement.
The exercise itself. Yes, over 1,000, CBN staff to be retired.
And they said it for strategic realignment of workforce.
Strategic workforce realignment. 4 of the Punch newspaper, and that's that. And finally, off the front page of the Punch, Ekiti CP defends Farotimi's arrest in Lagos, alleges cyberbullying and defamation. The story is on page 5.
We need to quickly talk on this one. Just 1 minute.
Very quickly, yes. The Ekiti State Police Commissioner, Mr. Adeniro Akinwale, has defended the arrest of Dele Farotimi, human rights activist based in Lagos, for alleged cyberbullying and defamation. And according to, in an interview, it was alleged that offenses committed by Farutimi includes defamation of character, cyber stalking, and other things, noting that those two allegations were fully established. So the commissioner said, and I quote, "We are investigating him. If the suspect is arrested..." We've had this conversation before, Fuad. Let's move on. It's okay. We've had this conversation before. Arrest before investigation.
They are investigating me, but they've already arrested him. And also, so they will keep him there while they are investigating.
While they are investigating.
You see that we are not a serious people. You see, it's not that we are not even a serious people. You know, I always question whether we are even a civilized people. Because this idea of you just want to punish somebody, you just go and arrest the person, come up with trump up charges because you think that police arresting somebody in itself is a punishment. And these are people who are educated. It's not as if they are not educated. But the question is, are they even civilized to start with? And they come up with all this cyber bullying, and then you arrested the person, you arrested him in Lagos, drove him all the way to Ekiti, and you say you are still investigating. That's what I'm saying, that are we even a civilized people? To let us ask ourselves whether we are really a civilized people, or we are pretending to be civilized, or we are deceiving ourselves to be civilized. And this issue of defamation and what have you, Sandra, it's mostly a civil matter. If you feel somebody has defamed you, take up legal charges against the person. Go and sort it out in court.
Well, you know the interesting parts of everything, the whole thing. Well, I mean, lawyers have reason to this particular situation.
He is also a lawyer.
And he's a lawyer as well. But then more notable amongst reactions is the DG of the Labour Party presidential campaign, Akin Osuntokun, who said, and I quote, "I know Dele Farutimi as a junior. I was a bit disturbed about the fact that the police commissioner in Ekiti State would come down to Lagos State to come and arrest someone about cybercrime, which is always a euphemism for whatever grouse the police has. Chief Babalola,
cyber bullying. There's a criminal libel. They have words for those things just to pick you up, detain you there because somebody has instructed That's the mentality we still carry in the 21st century in our policing standard. That's what I'm saying, that yes, we are educated, but are we exposed? Are we civilized? We need to ask ourselves.
It's just, the tie-in of Chief Babalola into the whole situation. Again,
I'm surprised, and I'm shocked.
Another part
that is also coming in.
Very, looks somehow.
Sandra,
but
when the Falanos had an issue with Very Dark Man, what did they do, Sandra? Which was almost looking like defamation and libel on the Bobrisky case. What did Falanos do?
Put out a statement.
I wrote to him to say that, look, if you don't retract your statement, which I consider defamatory, I'm going to, take up what? Legal charges against you. Because they could have also used their efforts to go and arrest him, not demolish, because they know. Look, Sandra, let's move on.
Thank you, Fad. Thank you. Unfortunately, we have totally run out of time, and there's still quite a lot to talk about. We still have the compressed natural gas conversation, which is the major headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. It's okay, Fuad. Have you converted, Fuad? Have you converted? I know you have 6 cars.
I'm waiting for our governors and our leaders to convert. They are my leaders now, so when they lead, I follow. Until I see them convert all their vehicles, I won't convert nothing.
No. No.
Sandra, leadership by example. When they do, I do.
No.
They can't say and then make me do. When they are saying what they are not doing. When they do, I do. Sandra, I'm waiting for them to convert all their. When I see the president convert his escalate to CNG, what's there?
Anyways, we've always talked about infrastructure deficits, as regards CNG adoption. And that's the major headline now on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Infrastructure deficit slows CNG adoption amid $450 million investment. So what we have as
infrastructure deficit or non-availability of infrastructure, 50 CNG conversion stations in the whole of the country. That's what we're going to be dealing with.
Number of CNG kits distributed 150,000. Number of conversion centers 150. Number of vehicles converted over 50,000. CNG investment $450 million. Number of CNG stations or refueling sites nationwide 58. States with CNG dispensing sites 23. CNG manufacturing hub 3. It's okay. The story is on page 6.
And that's the option now for high cost of petrol.
Yes.
Oh, so that's the option, and that's the reasonable option for high cost of petrol.
The
So when I convert my vehicle now, Sandra, to CNG, where would I get the CNG station?
By the time you get there, the
Refuel.
gas are finished. It's all right. Well, it's
Now,
by the time you get to the refueling sites to Ghana,
where is even the refueling site? I think in Lagos, one is in Agidi. And you know where I stay. So anytime I will have to go to Agidi.
should I tell everybody where you stay?
If you want to.
You asked now. Anyways,
Sandra,
the story is on
then.
page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. CNG scheme and the issues that it is having. We also have here Federal Poly with 142 students and over 150 staff incur 638 million naira overhead cost, and that is on page 3. Yes, that's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. So we're meant to look deep into that one as well. Why Nigeria and South Africa must lead continent's transformation, and that's coming from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We also have here Senate approves MTEF, respected, probes NNPCL over 8.4 trillion naira subsidy. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper, and so many other stories on the front page of Vanguard that we can't take, unfortunately. But stay with us, don't go anywhere. We will take a short commercial break now. When we come back, we'll move on to Milan Focus.